News alert. This is video that we just have in from moments ago from Los Angeles. This is according to multiple ICE and Fox News sources. A U.S. Marshal and an illegal alien were both shot in L.A. this morning. It was during an immigration operation. Both at this time, we are told, have non-life-threatening injuries. Fox is told that federal agents surrounded and boxed in a target. That target then rammed federal vehicles in an attempt to escape. The feds fired their weapons. One U.S. Marshal was hit in his hand in what initially appears to be a bullet ricochet. The target criminal alien was hit in the elbow, we are told. Both expected to be okay, and they are at the hospital, and we are awaiting an update on that situation.
Hey, welcome into Courageous Media. Thanks so much for joining me. We have got more breaking news as violence against ICE agents, against federal agents, escalates across the country. We now have reports of ramming incidents in Los Angeles, similar, remember, to what we saw in Chicago just a couple weeks ago. This is absolutely crazy that this is allowed to go on. First of all, that the black-robed, tyrannical, inferior court district judges continue, in the words of Andrew Branca, continue to thwart constitutional presidential power and prevent the deployment of National Guard and other resources to protect ICE agents in places like Chicago and Portland and elsewhere. So we've got massive escalating violence against ICE. We have now had 2+ ramming incidents. We've had multiple shots fired. Remember, we had targeted violence against ICE in Texas, both of them from rifle shots. One a sniper, one shots taken from a forested area against ICE outside an ICE facility. This is just absolutely crazy. But I'm glad you're rolling up. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate everybody who's rolled up. Please let us know you're here in the comments. Smash that like button for me. Subscribe. Turn on the notifications. All right, let's jump back a couple weeks and see how this is an escalation now of violence that was occurring in Chicago. In fact, this is almost a very similar incident with the whole ramming.
Stopped physically. DHS says one of them, or both of them, I should say, are Venezuelan and in the U.S. illegally. One of them had an order for removal from 2024. A crowd formed up, and Chicago police say they started throwing rocks. So tear gas and other crowd control weaponry was used to disperse the people. Meantime, the fence surrounding the ICE facility here in Broadview, Illinois, is down. It came down with an hour to go before the court-ordered midnight deadline. The mayor of...
So I wanted to touch in on that ramming incident. Again, this newest incident in Los Angeles is merely the spread of the anti-ICE escalation that is taking place across the country. Why is it taking place? Because, frankly, of 3 factors. One, there is the continuing anti-ICE pro-violence rhetoric against them, calling ICE Nazis, calling them Gestapo, calling them jackbooted, saying that they are masked vigilantes, that they are unmarked, unmasked people with assault weapons, saying that they are kidnapping people off the street. None of these things are true. ICE are federal agents acting at the behest of the federal government with federal authority, going after people who already have obtained their due process. They are not kidnapping anybody. They are arresting and detaining people who have ICE detainers already. Now, in the words of Tom Homan, if that's not an easy thing to do, if we're not allowed to do it in the jails, then we will go into the communities and anybody found with this person will be rounded up and their immigration status will be determined. And if they are here illegally, they will be gone too. So the libs are doing all of this to themselves. Now, check this out, because Tim Pool was reacting to this same incident, talking about the escalation of violence against ICE. Here we go.
Every day, we are getting stories about escalation in terms of illegal immigrant raids, far-left riots, protests, etc. We got another one for you. But this one's not just escalation. A man that they were trying to arrest rammed DHS vehicles as they were trying to stop him with his tires spinning out. Their weapon discharged one of the agents, striking the agent and the illegal immigrant. Now, this is an escalation, of course, because this immigrant rammed DHS vehicles, and it's terrifying to see this continued trend.
So when he rammed the ICE agents, They were forced, one of them was forced to discharge his weapon in self-defense. That round not only hit the illegal criminal terrorist, but it ricocheted and also hit another officer who was also taken to the hospital. Now, both are in stable condition, they're fine. But this criminal illegal terrorist needs to be incarcerated forever and or deported. But they need to be gone from this country one way, shape, or form.
But there's something else here. You notice I have highlighted a popular TikTok streamer. Say what? A popular TikTok streamer, illegal immigrant in the United States? How is this possible? That a person is going on social media, they know he's an illegal immigrant, and he's gaining followers. It gets worse. This story really shows us just how far gone this country is and how much damage the Democrats have done to the United States. This individual wasn't just a TikTok streamer. He was specifically streaming law enforcement actions pertaining to illegal immigration, ICE or otherwise, aiding and abetting other illegal immigrants to evade capture and enter this country illegally. You know, there's a word. There is. I asked ChatGPT, what would you call it when someone from a different country secretly enters the United States to document law enforcement action in an effort to aid other individuals who enter the country illegally so they can evade capture or enter? You know what the word it gave me was? I think you already know. Again, when you are secretly filming police and sharing this so that other non-citizens can break in the country or evade capture, we call that espionage.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's called. Espionage on behalf of known foreign terrorist groups. That's why these people need to be incarcerated and not in public jails. No. They need to be incarcerated in Guantanamo Bay, in other military facilities. They need to be deported to their home countries. Frankly, or the authorization of lethal force can be done because the president has already invoked the Insurrection and Alien Invasion Act. These people are acting as a foreign invasion force, conducting espionage, conducting operations against United States federal law enforcement and local law enforcement, for that matter. These people need to have not only the book thrown at them, but potentially, like I said, lethal force when it is authorized, when it is justified. Tim Pool is absolutely correct. Now, this gets even worse because it's not just these people tracking ICE and helping people evade them from from an actual illegal perspective or from a TikToker perspective. We have this happening at all levels of the government. And we also have these people now engaging in direct actions against ICE that constitute attempted murder. We've got both of those videos going up. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Charles Rexford in the house. What's going on in crazy Chicago? Same thing that's going on in LA. You've got this absolute nonsense of local government that is hindering ICE operations, that is hindering federal operations, that is putting not only their own people, but federal agents at risk. John Henry arrested and incarcerate in El Salvador. Yes, I totally agree. Send them down to CCOT. No problem with that. Get them out of the country and lock them up forever. Lynn Sanger in the house. Really appreciate it. Now, let's check this out because like I said, this goes beyond even just a ramming incident, which results in gunfire. Now, these people don't need, these illegal terrorists don't necessarily need guns. They have vehicles. Vehicles can be a lethal weapon when propelled at high speed against somebody. They are heavy. They can go at high speed. They have tremendous kinetic force. You know what else has tremendous kinetic force? Something as simple as a rock. Check this out, because this is going on in places like LA and Chicago as well.
Oh, who's this?
Throwing rocks off the highway, moving vehicles is nothing less than murder. Now, in this case, the vehicles are already stopped because police have already closed the road. But if you throw a rock off of a 2-story overpass at a vehicle going 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, that is a lethal weapon. And it's not just lethal against the driver, it could kill everybody in the car. This is absolutely nuts. Every single one of those people should have been immediately arrested by riot police. They should have been thrown into prison. They should have been denied bail. And then they should have had their hearing. And if any of them are illegals, straight to CCOT, straight to Uganda, straight to wherever we have other detainment agreements with foreign countries, or send them to Guantanamo. This is getting absolutely nuts. The gloves have got to come off at this point. They are attacking federal agents. They are attacking civilians. And now we've got members of the government. Remember that ICE basically started taking down all these ICE tracking apps. We talked about the TikToker who was just posting on TikTok, live updates of where they see ICE operations. That's because there used to be ICE tracking apps, but a lot of them have been taken down at the behest of the federal government by some of the sites that were sponsoring them, or at least by the app stores that carried them. But now you've got local government actually getting in on this murderous, potentially murderous scam. Check this out. This is nuts. This is Los Angeles local government. Here we go.
I shared this with the mayor. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, the Oversight Committee will be launching on their website a master ICE tracker, where we're going to be essentially tracking every single instance that we can verify that the community will be able to send us information on. I shared this with the mayor. Over the course of the next...
These two people, Bass and this knucklehead who is the
mayor.
I believe he's the
committee on the website.
Yeah, Garcia. Part of the House Oversight Committee. Him, Mayor Bass, the governor, Newsom, they should all be incarcerated for this. If they launch this master ICE tracking site, they should all be arrested, 100%. This is thwarting federal operations. This is, basically them thumbing their nose at federal law and actually putting federal agents at risk. This should not be tolerated. I would like to see Pam Bondi's DOJ perp walk these people in handcuffs right into a paddy wagon and right into prison. Let me know what you think in the comments, because this is egregious. This is not some private citizen being a knucklehead. No, this is a local government trying to invalidate the federal government in their enforcement of federal law. This is not an executive order. This is federal laws on the books regarding illegal immigration. And they're simply enforcing those laws, as Tom Homan has said over and over and over again. Now, this all comes on the heels of ICE expanding operations and targeting other groups of people that have known illegal terrorist activity. And one of those is rideshare apps like Uber. And this is extremely interesting. I want you to check out this video, because the Trump administration, Tom Homan and others, have long said that there are reasons that they are going after illegal aliens. One, they are a criminal element in the country. Two, they are a national security terrorist element in the country. So there's a criminal threat from these people, and there's a national security terrorism, anti-government threat from these people. So the criminal element, they traffic drugs, they traffic people, they traffic children, they commit all sorts of crimes of regular, normal criminal acts, as well as being in the country illegally is a criminal act. Second, for a large swath of them are national security threats, terrorist threats, agents of foreign governments like China, like Iran, like other places. But then you've got the third thing. The third thing that they do is they depress the US economy. All this nonsense that you hear from the mainstream propaganda globalist media is that, oh, they pay taxes, they contribute to the economy. No, they don't. They are a net drag on the economy because they don't fully participate, and they actually depress wages all across the board. Check this out.
Did you guys see they just did an ICE raid at Chicago O'Hare's rideshare parking lot? Like, as an American, you can't even get gig work anymore. Like, think about it. You have to compete to be able to drive around other people, or you have to compete to drop off people's food. So they did an ICE raid at the Chicago O'Hare parking lot, and they said it was at least 50 to 60 cars out there. And when they were done, there was only like 15. And they're saying that they're not suppressing our wages, right? So let me get this straight. They're not suppressing the wages, but you have to compete with more than double the amount of people who were supposed to be here. And that's not even counting that you're probably gonna get less per ride because there's so many people willing to do the job. Of course they're willing to do it, dude. They're getting assistance. They're not having to pay for a car. They're barely having to pay for rent. Yeah, they can take less wage per ride. So sit here and
They're absolutely depressing wages. And you've got a glut of people doing gig work, doing contract work. You've got a glut of people doing things like ride shares. You've got a glut of people in the construction industry. Now, yes, in some cases, there would be prices that go up because the rates of labor would go up. And that's exactly how it should be. There's a reason why a lot of these jobs pay really depressed wages, and that is because illegals are willing to come in and undercut the market. That should not be allowed. And how do these people even get driver's licenses? You are an illegal alien. You have to go to a state that's willing to give you a driver's license. No. If you are not an American citizen, you cannot get a driver's license unless you are here legally. If you are a legal resident, if you are here on a legal visa, if you're on a work permit, on a legal work visa, an HB1 or something else, okay, fine. That gives you legal papers to go get an American driver's license, but you're still not a citizen. Yet you got these illegal aliens who are getting driver's licenses without any documentation. Do they even have insurance? Like all of these things that American citizens are forced to do, this is how they depress wages. Meanwhile, if they're here illegally and they're in places like Chicago and New York, they're getting EBT cards and free rent and everything else. It's nuts. This is absolutely nuts. Let me know what you think in the comments. But we've got the Trump administration actively going after and deporting these people, which is fantastic. But meanwhile, you've got lib blue states who are thumbing their nose at the federal government, who are putting American citizens and federal agents at risk, and it needs to stop, and they need to be held accountable. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Please smash that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. The best thing you can do is watch all of our videos, watch them to the end, like them and comment on them and share them. That's fantastic. That'll help us get the channel back on track and grow and get back on top of the YouTube algorithm. Now, I've got two other stories I want to cover for you today, which is just absolutely crazy. We have got the libs once again renewing their age-old tactic of attack the families of conservatives. Attack their families. You can't attack the actual person.
Congresswoman,
or if you want to do more than attack the person, attack their family. This is just absolutely egregious. You've got Jen Psaki slandering J.D. Vance and his wife. But we're going to start with a clip from the way they did this to President Trump. Now they're expanding it to all of the Trump orbit. Check this out. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Here we go.
Congresswoman Tlaib taking direct aim at the president's family. I want to roll tape and let you take a listen to this.
You're choosing to protect family members of this current administration. They don't have any privacy anymore. They also have to be accountable to us in this chamber.
This subpoena is for personal emails, who their domestic help is, who's watching their. That's ridiculous.
All right, your reaction?
Well, none of us should really be surprised to hear this. I mean, they've been accosting all of us since day one because that's the only hand they have to play. They know they can't beat this president when it comes to the economy. They know that this president is so strong, fighting for Americans across the world now. And how are you going to defeat that? You attack his family. And we're all sadly used to it. But it's crazy. Of course we have a right to privacy. Of course Jared and Ivanka have a right to privacy.
Right.
We're American citizens.
I mean, President Obama's children were off limits, and rightfully so. Even Barron has been attacked by the left. And
The left loves to attack family members, surrogates. Remember, it was the left that attacked all of Trump's lawyers. Every lawyer that fought for President Trump, whether it was in Georgia, whether it was in federal court, whether it was in New York, faced attacks, faced disbarment, faced all sorts of ridiculous reprisals and repercussions and acts of petty vengeance from the powers that be. So you've got them attacking Trump's family, but now we've got Jen Psaki, ultra life loser, who's just getting trounced on MSNBC. Nobody likes her. Nobody watches her ridiculous loser show. But now she's taken to podcasts and interviews to attack egregiously J.D. Vance and his wife. And she actually slanders them. She needs to be sued out of oblivion for slander. But Lynn Sanger, I'm with you. I can't call her Peppermint Patty anymore because that's an insult to Peppermint Patty. If anybody who's watched the Peanuts, anybody who's watched Charlie Brown, I mean, Peppermint Patty wasn't the brightest bulb in the chandelier, but at least she was a fairly decent person. You know, I can't insult Peppermint Patty by calling Jen Psaki that. Jen Psaki is a disgusting, egregious liar. She is a closeted, violent leftist who would love nothing more than what happened to Charlie Kirk to happen to all members of the Trump orbit. Now check this out, because this is crazy video here.
I think the little Manchurian candidate, J.D. Vance, wants to be president more than anything else.
Yeah.
I always wonder what's going on in the mind of his wife. Like,
Agreed.
Are you okay? Please blink 4 times.
Yes.
We'll come over here. We'll save you. And that he's willing to do anything to get there. And that your whole iteration you just outlined, I mean, he's scarier in certain ways.
He's smarter.
In some ways. And he's young.
Yeah. And ambitious.
And agile in the sense that he is a chameleon who makes himself into whatever he thinks the audience wants to hear from him. Now, what's also true, though, is J.D. Vance is not – he's in some ways goodish on paper if you like what he believes in. I don't know. But I don't know that he can take the whole movement with him.
No way.
I don't think so either.
There's no riz.
It's got no riz, right?
None.
And he just is a little odd. And
Totally.
so Trump's odd in a different way. So I'm skeptical of that. So yeah, he's got to. I mean, everything going on right now, and I think we have to be very clear-eyed about this, is about trying to manipulate the public around elections. And
it's not trying to manipulate. This is absolutely nuts. So you've got Jen Psaki, who's just disgusting. And James Shoup, welcome in. I really appreciate your comment. 100% agree. Jen Psaki is a disgusting liar. And she just, in that clip, intimated that J.D. Vance is abusing his wife and that his wife needs rescuing, that she is the victim of domestic terror and the victim essentially of kidnapping and incarceration, against her will. Usha Vance and J.D. Vance need to sue Jen Psaki and whatever ridiculous channel this is with these 3 liberal female life losers out of existence. This one, I forget her name, Walsh. I believe it's Welch, Jennifer Welch or something Welch. she's Botox Betty. She's absolutely gross. She's even worse. She's the one who essentially called that said that all Trump supporters, anybody who supported Trump, should not be able to eat at any ethnic restaurant, should not be able to buy any ethnic food, should be completely shut out from the American economy. These people are disgusting. They are authoritarian, totalitarian communists, and they need to be run out of town on a rail. They need to be so shamed by the American public that they never come back. But let me know what you think in the comments. But Jen Psaki and this channel need to be sued out of their mind for slander of Usha Vance and JD Vance. But this is nothing new. This is nothing new to the left. This is who the left is. Check this out from Destiny. We've got another knucklehead here. But here's Destiny. If they're willing to go after their own family, then they're more than willing to go after the family of other people. Usha Vance has done nothing. She's done nothing in the public eye except be JD Vance's, the vice president's wife. She has not gone out of her way to do any major public speaking events other than essentially is expected of the second lady. She has done nothing, yet she is attacked by these vicious vipers in the left-wing socialist communist media sphere, the globalist corruptocrats. Now check this out from Destiny. Because like I said, if you're willing to go after your own family, then you're more than willing to go after the family of anybody that you hate.
How about your parents? If they get their brains blown out at a rally, would you have the same attitude? They are democracy-hating insurrectionists after all. One, you permaban for asking a stupid question, because the obvious answer two is, listen, they're adults. They make their own fucking decisions. If you want to support an insurrectionist president, then whatever comes of that that's your consequences. Again, it's not a fucking joke. My mom is an immigrant to the United States of America. She was 5 years old. Her parents worked really hard to get her here. She served for 20 years in the Air Force, along with my dad. They know exactly what they're doing. They should know exactly what they're supporting. It was my mom that, ranted at me for over a decade about how evil the USSR and Putin and all the Chi-Coms and all that shit. So whatever, if they go to a rally and they whatever the fuck, it's less end of life cost for me to deal with. It's on them. That's their decision. You think I'm going to fucking lose sleep over that? No. We all have our own path.
So here you've got Destiny basically saying that if his parents get shot at a conservative, MAGA, Trump, whatever rally or event you want, he is basically going to celebrate. Oh, they got what they deserved. This is how disgusting and lowlife these people are. Realize who you are up against. These people think that if you don't agree with them, you are evil and you are deserving of death. This is who they are. We saw the masks come off after the Charlie Kirk, and the mask has continued to be off because the same sentiment, the same ugly, violent rhetoric and celebration that happened immediately after the Charlie Kirk assassination have continued right up until now, right up until the ridiculous No Kings rally, the flop that was Saturday, October 18th. And we've got videos from that. This is who they are. So first one, this is, you'll probably recognize this person if you've seen this video flying around. But here we've got one of the white leaders.
Hey! You ever heard about
celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk.
You ever heard about septic, you fat ass?
This would be one thing if she was just a completely overweight, deranged lunatic. But she is a school teacher. She teaches at Chicago public schools. Her name is Lisa Martinez. Nathan Hale Elementary School is standing behind this person. She needs to be fired immediately. But of course, the leftists in Chicago won't do that. No, this is who we are up against. Now check this out again from the No Kings rally. The sentiment is continued. This is exactly who these people are. I call this the show your ass theory. Dan Bongino called it the show your ass theory. These liberals, these deranged lunatics are more than willing to show you exactly who they are. They are more than willing to drop their pants and show you their ass. And here they are.
Recently, with Charlie Kirk being assassinated,
He's a piece of garbage. Of course we were mean. I am so tired of people saying, oh, but, it's a terrible thing. No, Hitler is dead. I'm glad Hitler's dead.
Something that I've heard in interviewing Republicans is that they're concerned with the health care going to undocumented immigrants. What would you say about that?
I don't know that it's true. Everybody deserves health care, and we can certainly afford it in this country. So again, they're just, they're pointing to things and saying it's our fault, we're too liberal. It's really depressing. I don't know how anybody your age even thinks of having children, okay? Okay, millions of Democrats did not vote. Whose fault is that? We need to get ourselves together, and we might even need to be a little bit meaner, because the Republicans don't mind being mean.
And by mean, what do you mean? Do you mean protesting? Do you mean?
Maybe we have to, I don't know, stop being so nice.
Because you seem like a pretty nice lady.
I'm a pretty nice lady, but I can be pretty mean.
Now, obviously, this is a liberal, news reporter, or at least she's middle of the road. How you call this woman nice is beyond me, but here we go.
Me too.
Okay, and I have to ask this because people on the other side are going to say that they feel like the Democrat Party has been mean. Recently, with Charlie Kirk being assassinated,
Kirk is a piece of garbage.
Charlie Kirk is a piece of, so here's the nice person coming out.
Of course we were mean. I am so tired of people saying, oh, but, it's a terrible thing. No, Hitler is dead. I'm glad Hitler's dead. Evil people have no place in my world. He was a hateful human being. It was disgusting, the things that he said and did. I don't have time for that. I'm sorry.
She is happy that Charlie Kirk is dead. She is glad. She is celebrating the fact that Charlie Kirk is dead. And she would gladly celebrate if you or I were dead. That's who these people are. They love death. They are all part of a gigantic death cult, is in my opinion. Lynn Sanger, you're 100% correct. When you push God away, Satan moves right in and morality goes right out the window. So does any idea of kindness or love or joy. These people are bitter, angry, violent, ridiculous shells of people. They're like, I want to say they're like corpses walking around full of hate and violence. It's absolutely nuts. James Shoup, what's odds anybody remains a Democrat anymore with these horrible people? That's why you've got a mass outflow of normal people from the Democrat Party. That's why over the last 4 years, you have had an electoral shift in voter registrations of over 4.5 million voters. The Democrats have lost 2+ million and the Republicans have gained 2+ million. And that trend is continuing. Just last month alone, I saw a statistic. The Democrats lost 30,000 voter registrations month over month, and the Republicans gained 50,000. That's an 80,000 vote swing. Encapsulate at over a year, that's about 1 million votes a year, 1 million vote swing. Hence, over the last 4 years, about 4.5 million votes. The trend is continuing. Regular, normal, everyday Democrats, JFK Democrats, not these ridiculous boomers. Regular old JFK Democrats, Jimmy Carter Democrats are out. They're getting away from the Democrat Party. Why? Because this is who the Democrat Party has become. People like Destiny, people like Jen Psaki, people like the woman you just saw, and people like this. Don't forget these people. This is who the new Democrat Party is.
Yo, they got Charlie Kirk, bro. I've never been happier.
Never believe the reason I'm smiling. And it has nothing to do with Charlie Kirk. Nothing to do with Charlie Kirk.
I would say pour one out for Kirky Boy, but I don't waste good beer on little bitches.
I haven't posted on TikTok in a long time, but I'm gonna now because rest in peace, bozo!
Charlie Kirk just got put down like a fucking dog in Utah, and I could not be happier. Praise fucking be.
I do not, and I will not ever feel bad when bad people get what the fuck they deserve.
This is who the Democrat Party is. Why? Because this is who, it's really who they've always been at their core for the longest time. But now they are the ultra-left members of the Democrat Party are now the mainstream. They have pushed the old Democrats, the old JFK Democrats who were pro-America, who just had a difference of policy, who we could sit down and have policy discussions with. They are gone. Those people are now either independents or they're Republicans, but they are no longer Democrats because this is who Democrats are. And realize it is this type of person, this type of quote unquote voter, although we weren't voters back then, that were the insurgents, the revolutionaries in Tsarist Russia, in Imperial China, in Cuba, in Venezuela, in the Persian Empire, in Iran, pre-Ayatollah. These are the people that the leftists, that the authoritarians, the tyrants, the dictators use to push their agenda. They're the ones that they use to get out there, the students, the teachers, the education people, the ones they use to get out there and push an agenda, to push violence, to push rhetoric in order to get to a tipping point where they can take power. And then what they do is they go eliminate all these people. That's why you had the purge of 40 plus million people in Russia, in the Soviet Union after the Russian Revolution. That's why you had Mao killing tens of millions of people in the Cultural Revolution, following taking power from Imperial China. That's why you had what you had happen in Iran. That's why all these countries are now disgusting, authoritarian regimes. But this is who they want. This is who they are. And what they want is to destroy America and remake it into an authoritarian dictatorship. John Henry, what are those who call evil good and good evil? That's right. And that is what they are doing now. They actively call evil good and good evil. They actively call the assassination of Charlie Kirk good. They actively call the quote unquote transition, the mutilation of children's bodies. They call that good. They actively call same-sex relationships good. They actively call anybody who's a Christian who stands up for traditional marriage evil. This is who they are. This is what they've become. And it's absolutely scary. And it's why we as MAGA Republicans, as independent people who vote for Trump, as people who love this country, have to stand up, and we have to get into the arena of ideas and engage and win. It's what Charlie Kirk did so well. He went into the colleges and universities and he engaged them with discussion, with argument, with debate, with logic. And he was flipping so many of them. Why he had to be taken out? Because he was actually effective. And we all need to do that. We need to get into this fight. We need to get out there and debate and argue and use our free speech in order to convince people so that we can thoroughly defeat these people. They have to be defeated in 26. They have to be defeated in 28. And if we can do that, we can get a new census. We can get paper ballots. We can forever put the ultra left wing of the Democrat globalist propaganda authoritarian network so far under that they will not win an election for generations to come. That's what needs to happen. Now, I've got one more story, because it's along this line. While you've got violence ratcheting up against ICE and against federal agents, while you've got the left, the Democrat Party going hard left and ultra violent, intertwined in all that are groups, terrorist groups like Antifa, like Tren de Aragua, like MS-13, like BLM, and all these other places. And now you've got a focus by this administration on all completely dismantling these organizations from not only from the ground up, but from the top down. Check this out, because this story, I think, will make you really happy. We have got a real focus now on especially Antifa as a terrorist organization, and what the administration is doing about it is fantastic.
Police officers, 20 individuals have been charged.
But let's talk about for a moment the arrest made at Prairieland. Okay, this is the ICE facility at Prairieland, Texas, which I guess is outside of Dallas. Allegedly, 2 Antifa people have been arrested, maybe more. Can you tell us a little more about that?
This is breaking news, Larry. Just hours ago, a grand jury indicted 2 members of an Antifa-affiliated cell that launched an attack on a detention facility, attacking law enforcement and police officers. 20 individuals have been charged so far, but the key here is, for the first time, under the president's authorities, designated Antifa as a domestic terror organization. We have charged these 2 individuals with material support to terrorism for their involvement in Antifa. This was a coordinated, planned attack by dozens of individuals to murder police officers. And Larry, a police officer was actually shot in the neck. These guys came and staged a scene at a detention center using fireworks, then brought in long guns and rifles. They were kitted out in bulletproof vests and masks and opened fire at law enforcement. This is what President Trump is prioritizing. We have to protect the men and women of law enforcement. And yes, Antifa exists. It's a terrorist organization. These are the first charges ever brought under this new designation. And this FBI is following the money, and we're going to dismantle these networks because people pay for this stuff. We're going to find them. They are equally criminally responsible as those that pull the trigger themselves.
100%. Antifa is a terrorist organization. Muslim Brotherhood, BLM, they are all, now BLM is an aider and abettor of terrorist organization, but Antifa absolutely is a terrorist organization. And for the first time, we have got charges filed now against Antifa members on terrorism charges for terrorist acts. But if you listen to the globalist propaganda, mainstream, ridiculous media, there is no such thing as Antifa. Antifa doesn't exist. We can't possibly do this because Antifa is something else. You've got to check out this collage. Shout out to Dr. Steve Turley where I found this. But this is what the left-wing media thinks. This is the talking points they've been given. They are out there actively protecting Antifa and other terrorist organizations. They did the same thing with Tren de Aragua and MS-13. Check this out.
There's no Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa.
Like, I don't even know what Antifa is. There is no group.
It's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. Compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited.
It isn't an organization. It is a in many ways mythology.
It's not like the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers, sort of defined terrorist organizations with leadership that leads violence.
It's not a highly organized movement. It's a moniker. It's not a unified group like the Proud Boys are.
Things like Antifa are things that are thought up.
It's all in this guise of going after Antifa, which is nothing. There's no organization called Antifa.
Nobody's a member of Antifa because it doesn't exist. They are just declaring into existence something that doesn't exist.
There is no Antifa organization, so maybe that's good for social media. But it really is non-existent.
They exist on the internet in chat rooms and in 4chan and Discord and places like that where they...
Wrong. Antifa has been an organization for a long time. Antifa is a terrorist organization that has operated out of Europe for decades. And, it's so ridiculously stupid. These people are here telling a pre-recorded lie. I mean, you've got simple memes like this. Check, if you want to know who Antifa is, here you go. Here's one example. If you want to know who Antifa is as an organization, simply go look up their activities in Europe over the last 30 years. They absolutely know who Antifa is, but they are going to protect them forever because the left-wing propaganda media does not represent America. It doesn't represent American citizens or American workers. It represents the globalist cabal of corruptocrats who want to destroy America and the West in order to usher in a new globalist aristocracy where they will be forever in power based on who they were born to, so that their children and their lineage will forever be rich and powerful, and everybody else will essentially be a glorified serf. Now, fortunately, we have an administration, we have a president, we have an FBI director who are not going to let that happen. Check this out again from Kash Patel and others. This is great stuff. This warms my heart to know that they are actually actively going after this stuff. Now, all we need to see are more results. Check this out.
Nonprofit money, and maybe to some of those foreign enemies, some of those people you just mentioned in Iran and Venezuela and Russia. What are we learning, and what can you tell us about this threat?
So look, the thing I can tell you is that money doesn't lie. And the thing we're doing at the FBI is following the money. And thanks to President Trump, we now have Antifa designated, rightfully so, as a domestic terror organization. And we have had multiple investigations going on, not just in Portland, where we are mapping out the money and we are using social media and the influencers that the president had here just this last week, because they're the ones on the ground getting us ground level intelligence, because law enforcement isn't able to enter these spaces and these people are brave enough to do it. So we already have dozens of arrests of these individuals involved. But what we want to do is, as you pointed out, is someone is paying for this. These are organized acts of violence, fully funded by people who don't even live necessarily in these communities, showing up in dozens with the same placards, the same helmets, the same riot gear. Someone's paying for it, and we're on the verge of finding that out thanks to these new authorities.
Wow.
Yeah. That is absolutely fantastic. Now, to that end, I got one more video, but before that, I want to dive into this story because this helps set up the video, and that is the fact that they are already starting to get, maybe not to the bottom, but they are already starting to unravel the tangled weave of money and funders that are going into Antifa and other terrorist organizations. Report. This is from the Center Square. Soros Foundation gave $80 million to groups tied to extremist violence. So here you got a new report from Capital Research shows how billionaires George Soros's Open Society gave more than $80 million to groups tied to terrorism and extreme violence, $23 million to 7 groups that directly assist domestic terrorism criminality. The report, which was authored by Ryan Morrow, details the nexus between domestic terror activities and support for international terrorism, specifically Hamas, in addition to other communist sympathizers. Open Society has sent millions of dollars into U.S.-based organizations that engage in direct actions that the FBI defines as domestic terrorism. They include the Center for Third World Organizing. It's built in part in Ruckus Society, which trained activists in property destruction and sabotage during the 2020 riots. The Sunrise Movement, which endorsed Antifa-linked Stop Cop City campaign, and other 40 domestic, which currently face 40 domestic terrorism and 60 racketeering indictments. The Sunrise Movement received at least $2 million from Open Society. So all of this is just the tip of the iceberg of the groups, the NGOs, the terrorist organizations that have received money from places like the Open Society Foundation, which, guess what, is just another in the long daisy chain of NGOs, which used to get funded by money laundered out of USAID, out of the Department of Education, even out of the Pentagon. And that is where Doge and the Trump administration are cracking down on all this money, all this US taxpayer money that was literally going to destroy America. It was going into NGOs, which sent it to other NGOs, which then sent it back to places like the Open Society Foundation, which then went to terrorist organizations actively trying to destroy the United States. Lynn Sanger, build a solid case, indict, prosecute, and give them a one-way ticket to Guantanamo Bay. I absolutely 100% agree. Now, check this out, because this will make you hopefully feel good, give you some hope that we are actually making some progress on all these fronts. This was a meeting shared by Anna Paulina Luna. Check this out.
This is not just a story about violence and chaos, as you alluded to, Mr. President. This is a money story. And at the Government Accountability Institute, my colleague and I, Peter Schweitzer and our team, we followed the money, and we followed it to the top of what we call the protest industrial complex, Riot Inc. And we found a network of NGOs. Riot Inc.,
which is essentially, they started investigating what happened during the 2020 riots and onward from there, and even dating back but this is where all this started. And then they started looking at Antifa. They started looking at what they call Riot Inc. and where this money came from, where this money fomenting anti-American domestic terrorism came from.
It's not just the Soros network, the Open Society network. It's other funding networks, the Arabella funding network, the Tides funding network, Neville Roy Singham and his network, Foreign Cash. And it's also big left-wing funders. Some of them are not citizens of this country. Mr. Hans-Jörg Wyss of Switzerland. They're pouring money into this entire ecosystem. And so I want to share 3 money facts with you about what we call Riot Inc. Number 1, Like any corporation, Riot Inc. has many divisions. It doesn't just have the Antifa boots on the ground division. It has PR divisions. It has marketing divisions. It has a very well-funded legal division to get these boots on the ground back on the streets as quickly as possible. But it does have those investors that I mentioned. Number two, we have identified dozens of radical organizations, not just the decentralized Antifa organizations, but dozens of radical organizations that have received more than $100 million from the Riot Inc. investors. These would be the lawyer groups. These would be the groups that advocate for calling good, honest Americans fascists, etc. And then three, I think the most shocking thing is that we have found that more than $100 million in U.S. taxpayer funding has flowed into these funding networks.
Exactly. They're being funded by our own tax dollars, which flowed out of USAID into a daisy chain of NGOs and back into terrorist organizations committing domestic terror on U.S. soil.
Including at least $4 million to these very groups themselves, not just Antifa types, but there was an event in Atlanta called Stop Cop City. Over 60 rioters were charged with domestic terrorism. These groups received money for that from both the billionaire class as well as taxpayer money. So one other thing, this money helps fund the decentralized crowdfunding platforms. These are ways that Antifa, the John Brown Gun Club of Elm Fork, which had links to that attack on the ICE facility, the Socialist Rifle Association, and just because they don't have LLCs or EIN numbers doesn't mean they can't get paid. Some of these funding platforms, crowdfunding platforms, are funded by this network that we call rioting. So again, I want to thank you for your...
So all of these crowdfunding, all these things need to be shut down. If they are funding terrorism, shut them down. If they are NGOs operated by U.S. citizens in the United States, shut them down and then prosecute the individuals involved. They're American citizens. They get their day in court. They get their due process, but they should be prosecuted like the two people in Texas under terrorism statutes. Not, they gave money. They aided and abetted a terrorist organization or terrorist organizations. They should be prosecuted under terrorism statutes under Homeland Security. Now, for those NGOs that are external to the United States, that are not staffed by American citizens, for the Hiesborg Wies, he talked about a Swiss citizen that is funding terrorism in the United States. They are foreign actors. They are not American citizens. They should be treated as foreign enemy combatants, and they should be we should wage war on them, just like the Abdul Bakaris of the world. We should either rendition these people or take them out entirely. If they are foreign enemy combatants contributing, giving money to terrorist organizations in America that result in destruction of property or death in America, they should be treated as foreign enemy combatants, and any and all measures available to the United States should be taken against them, just like we did to Soleimani or Bakari or any of the other terrorist individuals, Iranians, Afghans, Pakistanis, just like Osama bin Laden. We went and found him in his house in Afghanistan and took him out. The same thing should happen to these all foreign organizations or individuals that are funding terrorism in the United States. The exact same. It should send a message to everyone involved that you're not going to mess with us like this anymore. This is ridiculous. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate you rolling up. James Shoup, thanks so much for that comment. Thank you so much. Hey, Talisha Clark, really appreciate you being here. Thanks, everybody. Hey, if you like this content, please subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button. Let us know you're here in the comments. And please share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. Also, if you're so willing, if you would like, please support the channel. Join us as a member of the Courageous Army on YouTube. Thanks so much for being here. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Until I catch you next time.